Hey, my media literate hotties. My name is Kelsey. You may know me as the print princess or the media literate hottie on TikTok, basically the girl who reads the newspaper. And on today's episode of Chronicle, as usual, we are going to figure out what the hell journalism actually is. Alrighty, guys, we talked a lot about The Atlantic. And the last note we ended on was that there have been some fantastic writers for The Atlantic. Ta-Nehisi Coates has been one of them. But I have somebody equally as fabulous that has contributed to The Atlantic. Steffi Cao, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What an incredible intro that I hope I live up to.
No, you have lived up to it because even in your bio, let's discuss, you've been at BuzzFeed.
Yes.
Rest in peace. I love that part of your bio.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to BuzzFeed, Forbes. Your work has appeared in The Atlantic, Teen Vogue, The Washington Post, Fast Company, MTV News Bustle, and more. So you're doing the damn thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully I'm doing the thing.
All right, we met at a Digital Void panel, and I wanted to bring you on here because I'm just fascinated in this media literacy journey I've been on of like what makes a journalist a journalist? How did the journey start? What is your process? And let's just kick it off. Your bio says writer. What the hell is the difference between a writer and a journalist?
Yeah, of course. So I identify as a writer and journalist,
Okay.
but to me, the difference is really in the muscles that you exercise.
Mhm.
So writing is really about the skill of your pen, basically. You know, your ability to craft a story, your ability to bring a reader in and keep them engaged throughout the whole thing. A journalist, to me, is really about your reporting muscle. So your ability to get scoops, lock interviews, to research, to fact check, all these like aspects that go into making great journalism and
Mhm.
bringing knowledge to people. So to me, that is the difference. So I do tend to identify as both, maybe lately a bit more writer because
Okay.
my work has been a lot more critique based.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's to me the difference and what I was taught the difference was. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And where were you taught the difference of that?
Definitely BuzzFeed News.
Wait,
BuzzFeed News is my training ground.
Okay, wait. What was the training like at BuzzFeed? What was BuzzFeed like?
BuzzFeed left me. I'll say that first. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
Rest in peace.
BuzzFeed.
I was hired at BuzzFeed straight out of college,
Uh-huh.
and I was covering K-pop on the entertainment side. So
Mhm.
that was very just like go free, try things out, interview celebs, and like hope it sticks. Hope it sticks. Like
Mhm.
it was very much a free ground. But when I was hired at BuzzFeed News, which is a very much in a siloed area of the company, which
Mhm.
focused very much on hard reporting, investigation, made its name as the place to first publish Chanel Miller's statement against Brock Turner, the
Mm.
place to uncover investigations against Uber, Ellen
Mhm.
DeGeneres, R. Kelly. These were
Yeah.
all places that started at BuzzFeed News. So when I started there, it was very much the beginning of like, here's how we do journalism, here's our journalistic ethics, and
Uh-huh.
like what's important to us, and therefore to you as someone who is trying to bring knowledge to people. Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like as a consumer of BuzzFeed quizzes and the and the YouTube content,
True.
the news part of it to me, like even as you talk about some of the groundbreaking things that they did, I feel like sometimes it as a consumer it got like overshadowed by the fun of it. But you're really mentioning they broke some pretty incredible stories.
Some huge stories,
And
yeah.
and you said they had a different ethics about going about it. How did they what was that ethics? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, so well, BuzzFeed focused on entertainment, like
Yeah.
quizzes, like meme roundups,
Uh-huh.
things like that. Things that were very much just they exist online,
Mhm.
and your job is to aggregate that content and put it out for people's entertainment. News is really focused on what's the story that is happening and affecting everyday people.
Mhm.
The journalism, like catchphrase you'll hear over and over again is afflict the powerful and empower the afflicted, which
Mm.
is very much like if you went to journalism school or worked in a newsroom, you have probably heard that before.
Mhm.
I believe it was like Joseph Pulitzer. I don't know if that's actually his name. I think,
That sounds
yeah,
right.
sure. Every white man's probably named
Right.
Joseph, whatever. Um,
Big Joe.
that's to me, I think that's a phrase you hear a lot, and that's very
Yeah.
much the mission of a journalist. When you work in the field, when you're working on stories, no matter
Yeah.
what desk you work on, whether it's politics, science, breaking news,
Mhm.
inequality, anything is very much following that
Okay.
line. Yeah.
Okay. And then what I want to, I mean, as much as I do care about BuzzFeed, rest in peace, I want to learn more about you. What was the aha moment? When were you to yourself, okay, writing journalism, this is for me?
It's kind of funny how I ended up in journalism. It definitely wasn't like the thing I thought of.
Mhm.
when I first started thinking of like what I want to be when I grow up. When I grew up, I knew I wanted to write.
Mhm,
I wrote I wrote stories all the time when I was a kid. It was
mhm,
very much like what I wanted to do. And then it wasn't until I became an organizer in college and
mhm,
started doing civic engagement organizing. I
mhm,
canvassed across like wider Atlanta for the John Ossoff election in
mhm,
2017 and worked to like register voters in Detroit, things like that. That I was like, oh, like I really like working with people. I really like
mhm,
working on um, empowering people, everyday people who otherwise feel disenfranchised, feel confused about this world, don't
mhm,
know how to navigate it, or feel left behind by a lot
mhm.
of these systems that were supposed to protect them. And so journalism for me was a combination of that. In college, I realized you could just email people, like you could just email editors.
Yeah.
My best friend Tess Garcia, who's also a journalist, a
Uh-huh.
fashion journalist, a great one.
Fun.
She linked me up with an editor she knew at Teen Vogue because
Uh-huh.
they were looking for pitches from
Mhm,
Asian American writers for Heritage Month,
mhm.
and that was how I got my first national byline. And then since then, I realized, oh, with one byline under my belt, I could just email.
Wait, pause, Steffi. This is a media literacy podcast, so you gotta tell the people what a national byline
Oh,
is.
of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So a byline is just when you read an article,
Yeah.
who's it by? So by
Uh,
blank. So
okay.
once you get a byline, that's your first article that's written by you, or any
Mm.
byline is something that's written by you,
Okay.
effectively. So national byline is a publication that syndicates nationally. So
Okay.
it's not focused on local news. It's not focused on a state, a city. It's bringing news to people all over the country
Mhm.
or even the world at this point. So that's like primarily it's a very big rung to achieve for a lot of young
Yeah.
writers to
And you
go
did that in
from.
college?
Yeah, I did when I was 18. Don't look it
Whoa.
up. I read it recently. It was about double
I was
eyelids.
gonna ask what it was. Okay, what it's
It
about.
was about the standard of double eyelids in the East Asian community. And
Mm.
looking back on it now, I'm like, who let me publish that?
What made you write that?
It was just like Heritage Month. I think I was at that point in my life where you're young and
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of widespread language around social justice and identity at that point. And so when I was articulating this sense of like there are these beauty standards within my community that I want to talk about, that was something that I first thought of
Mhm.
and wanted to write about. And the editor thought it was a good idea. I
Mhm.
don't think there was a lot of coverage yet about intercommunity beauty standards,
Mhm.
specifically among people of color and Asian people.
Mhm.
And so that was the story.
So you pitch the story, they accept it. Like, how does that even work? How do you pitch a story and what happens after you
Yeah.
pitch it?
Pitching is very simple. It's you write a very quick email
Mhm.
about what your story is, why it's timely, and why you think it'll apply to the publication you're pitching to.
Mm.
So, Teen Vogue specifically, they were soliciting pitches for APIA Heritage Month. And I felt it was relevant because I was a teen, one, but it was about beauty standards. And, Teen Vogue has been a historic fashion publication, youth culture publication. I was very much enamored with the brand at the time because Elaine Welteroth had just taken helm and,
Mhm.
is just like this. I don't know if she'd just taken helm, but she was very much at the top of her game at Teen Vogue, and I was so enthralled by that, to see
Mhm.
somebody so young leading this publication, talking about things that young people cared about.
It was still in print at that point, right?
I actually don't know. I think so.
I think so. I can't remember either.
I don't know ball like that. I know other
Yeah.
writers know ball about print, and
Oh,
that's definitely not.
wow.
I'm very much a digital journalist
Okay,
down.
okay, got it.
So yeah, I really don't know ball like
You
that,
said
but
no ball about it. That's
I don't
funny.
know ball about digital digital versus print magazine
She said, "I am
history.
not the expert." That's funny.
Sorry. Yeah, I was an English nerd, but not like not that much of an English nerd. So but yes, after that, I just started to like throughout college started freelance writing. That's when I wrote for MTV. It's when I
Uh-huh.
wrote my first byline for Bustle. Because once you get one big byline
Yeah.
that editors will recognize, then many others come very easily if you have the story, if you have your pitch email down,
Mm.
and if you just keep at it, basically.
Yeah.
You hear many rejections early on in your career and today. But from there, I began just freelancing. And then I realized as I was doing my internships and things, I thought I wanted to work in TV after pivoting out of organizing. And I was working at Nickelodeon as an intern. And I was like, oh, I actually think I want to write. I want to do this
Mm.
full time. And so thankfully, when I graduated, there was an offer at Buzzfeed, and that's how everything got started.
And
But
that's and the ball kept rolling.
yeah.
One of my favorite articles of yours is about nutting. It's not really about nutting, but you do talk about the origin
Hey.
of the word nutting and where it
Yes.
came from. And I just want to read an excerpt from this piece. All right, so the article is titled "Why Steroids Are Now Turning Young Men into Dangerous Incels." That's spooky. And you wrote this piece. That's really spooky. And you wrote it for the Daily Beast. And I just want to read a quote from it because this one absolutely stood out
Please
to
do.
me. The use of anabolic steroids and other performance enhancers has long been an open secret in elite gym culture, but today it's becoming increasingly common among young men, in part due to the new wave of mind boggling muscular fitness content creators. And the craze is expanding the reach of an all male echo chamber, where bodybuilding and weightlifting have been tied into misogynistic far right views. Goddamn. Like, when I read that, I was like, wait, this is deep. Okay.
Thank you.
So you freelance this piece. How do you, as a writer, decide I'm gonna write about men who were using steroids and turning into incels?
Well,
How do you make that decision?
one, I have a lot of burner accounts
Yep.
on the
Oh,
internet.
fun.
You
How
have
many?
to. That information will remain classified, mostly because I'm editing them right now. But I do think it is like important to talk to different types of people all the time. You know, when I was at BuzzFeed News, my first big scoop was I talked to the Liver King, who's like a masculinity influencer who went viral on TikTok for um like eating raw bull testicles.
Wait, pause. Pause. That part is a whole other thing.
It's
Wait,
true.
so you have burner accounts
I
and you're
do.
like a part of these communities,
I
talking to them?
No, not talking to them. I think more just observing the content that exists in those worlds.
Oh, so you're almost
Um,
rigging your algorithm to be a
yes.
part. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's like a whoa. That's like a new form of ball for digital
It's
journalism.
true. It's very much like, I think, a digital journalism game.
Yeah.
Most of the journalists I know who work in internet culture and cover the internet, specifically a lot of like manosphere,
Mhm.
gender specific subcultures of the internet, oftentimes have a lot of accounts where we can sort of just like backgroom algorithms to like look at like what's going on in like the Minecraft world or the
Ah.
K-pop fandom or like ED culture,
Mhm.
like, that was, like, an overflow from the Tumblr days, things
Yeah.
like that exist online, and, it's you often become quite familiar with just sort of like, okay, you go to these big accounts that you know are big in this space, and you like a bunch of their content, and then the algorithm starts feeding you the content,
So
basically.
so you started liking bodybuilder content.
Yeah, basically. I mean, the
Okay.
piece basically covers how bodybuilding, in terms of the internet history, was one of the first great radicalizers into the alt-right, and bodybuilding.com, an old forum,
Mhm.
was really the main site where the term nutting was first created,
Crazy.
and, you know, that was the first time that, like, um, you got to see a bunch of men compare their body sizes to each other, and that's when things really escalated into you know, real court cases where one of the users was accused of murder of somebody, and that all took place
Mm.
on bodybuilding.com. Of course, like, when you write something so baldly like that and people feel very differently about
Yeah.
their community, it, of course, is going to cause backlash, but ultimately, from what the people I spoke to, the
Mhm.
content I consumed, like, that's simply, like, the history of the internet, and
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Wow. And there was, I guess, like the questions I had too about the piece is, well, actually, fuck that. I do want to talk about nutting. How did that come from
How did that come?
bodybuilding.com? You got it? You got the
Right.
pun. No, how did it
Right.
come from bodybuilder.com? That's what I wanted to know. I was going to ask you a serious question like, how did you find the interviewees? But no, where did that come from?
My understanding, I spoke to Jamie Cohen,
Uh-huh.
the creator one of the co-creators of Digital Void, and
Wow.
a
Shout out
great lecturer at
Jamie.
SUNY. I understood from him was that basically the term began to, like, be used on bodybuilding.com.
Uh-huh.
How it became like how like a chestnut became a euphemism for cum. I guess there is someone who has done a lot of research on that one specific topic, and
Yeah.
I would love to hear you talk to them at length about that.
I would I would at length, nutting is just something I'd never would have thought came from bodybuilding.com.
Right.
I didn't even think about it.
It was just this overreaching, this very large community for some women, primarily men,
Mhm.
um, to talk about this one specific thing. And, when bodybuilding, as Dr. Cohen put it,
Mhm.
as Jamie put it, he really said, like, a lot of this was really based on self improvement, very much like not competitive in a nature of like, I'm trying to be bigger and
Mhm.
stronger than somebody else, whether it's like my past self or somebody else I see as competition in the same sphere. And so it does breed a lot of this individualism that you often see in alt-right spaces where
Mhm.
a lot of the culture is very much shaped around like, how are you better than somebody else? Like, where do you come out on top? And so it lends itself very well to sort of like neo-Nazi alt-right propaganda,
Exactly.
because these ideas of self-improvement, which you have historically been seen among fascist regimes, you look at like old newspapers from like neo-Nazi times, and you'll
Mhm.
often see like the ideas of like the strongest man and things
Mhm.
like that. So it does lend itself very well in terms of um, just like how the community was formed in the first place and why it happened.
And, like, with a piece like that, why do you pick Daily Beast? Do they come to you? Like, what if you submitted that to the New York Post?
The lot of this industry as a writer is finding editors you like,
Mhm.
finding publications that you feel comfortable to work with and that pay on time,
Right.
frankly,
Yeah,
because
that matters.
a
Someone
lot
needs
of
to give me my
these
money.
right, a lot of these places take a while to pay you.
How
That's
long?
simply the truth of the industry. And I wish it would change. Can we make that happen?
Ho
Anna Wintour?
how do journalists get paid? Or,
um,
like, because you're a freelance journalist
I am.
or freelance writer.
I am.
What does that mean? Like
Freelance writing is an interesting game. I've been doing it for about a year and a half.
Mhm.
It very much revolves around pitching
Mhm.
primarily, but it also revolves around doing other gigs today.
Mhm.
Whereas in ancient times, in the 20th century,
Mm.
writers
Back then.
could get paid exorbitant amounts, multiple dollars per word.
Mhm.
Well, not exorbitant amounts, but they could make their life happen just by writing. That's
Mm.
no longer the case today. Rates have diminished.
Mm.
Usually they're like 50 cents a word, if even that. Some publications pay far
Oh, you get
less.
paid by the word.
You get paid by the word or you agree a flat rate with an editor. So you can
Interesting.
do two different ways. You can also I've done um like retainers where you have a certain amount of output for X amount of months. I've done that with a fast company when I had a advice column. Um yeah.
And how long does
Yeah.
it take you to get paid?
Right now, I believe in New York, net 60 is the standard. So after 2 months.
So the months fluctuate. Like some months are good, some months are bad.
That's true. It's like running a business. Like I'm sure you
Yeah.
understand as a creator, like there's gonna be slow
Oh, no, no,
months.
some months are bad.
Some months are
Some months are really
bad.
bad, like, some months are really good,
Yeah,
like, some months are, "Wow, I've never seen this much money," and
exactly.
some months it's like, "Damn, I've
Yeah,
never seen this much money." Like, I've never seen this little money.
it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
it just depends,
It's
it just
true.
depends.
And it's becoming more and more frequent nowadays to
Yeah,
be a freelance writer as opposed to being a staff writer because most people are getting laid off. Like,
yeah.
I was laid off from Buzzfeed. Like, a lot of NBC just had layoffs. Condé Nast just had layoffs. Like, a lot of people are losing their jobs. So, freelancing is becoming much more common in the industry.
And, like, I feel like I mean, this kind of perfectly segues into also the point of this discussion in this podcast is to strengthen the relationship between influencers, content creators, and journalists. Because I think
Mhm.
a lot of our experiences are similar,
Yeah,
and you know, I'm just gonna call it how it is. Like it's beef between us
it's true.
because for so long, when a new product was launched or a new experience happened, you call a writer, you call a journalist who
Yeah.
has journalistic integrity that knows how to write, and now you not only call a creator, you pay a creator, and you want
Mhm.
to get the creator that has the most reach in their audience and
Totally.
who is getting an exuberant amount of money compared
Mhm.
to a journalist. And I think it's just created like a lot of friction when our realities are a lot more similar than I think people would think.
For
So
sure.
I do want to ask you the question, like, what do you think about the relationship between journalists and content creators, and how do you think it could be strengthened?
This is why I adore you so much.
Oh, thank
I think
you.
is because it is a difficult conversation to have,
Yeah.
especially because there isn't a lot of space for us to talk about this.
Yeah.
I think that it really depends on the creator. I think some creators I've met take their responsibility very seriously.
Mhm.
They have approached their channels with a level of nuance where they have a responsibility to say, like, hey, here's my sourcing, here's why
Mhm.
I've done my research, here's the accountability I will take.
Yeah.
I think it is more frustrating, I think, for journalists to see particularly a lot of people who capitalize on our work.
Mhm.
I've had definitely had
They be doing
creators
that. They be snatching y'all's work.
rip my articles word for word,
It's wrong.
throw some true crime music over it, and then be like, "The media is not talking about this."
Like, wish I
Hello?
was. I am the
Right
media.
here.
It's
I was
me.
right here. You use my shit word for word.
They be doing that. They be
It's
doing that.
very frustrating
They don't
and
have the nerve to save the video.
right,
Yeah.
right, and I think it stirs and ultimately this hurts the viewer a lot more because they have no idea who to trust, where to turn.
Mhm.
There is a lot of failing on traditional media's part to continue to engage their reader, in a way that feels like they are not defending corporate interest.
Yes.
You see a lot of headlines that are in passive voice and remove accountability from the police for shooting unarmed black people. Hello? Like, I think that's a huge failing on a lot of traditional journalism's part is that when you have um, a lot of corporate interest
Mhm.
involved, it can be very difficult and to for the reader to feel as though the story is being told in a fair and accurate way. So I think that this is an accountability aspect on both people making content on social media
Yep.
as well as people who are journalists today, and running these newsrooms specifically to write stories and create coverage that feels transparent
Yep.
and like it is covering the interests of the people because that is ultimately what every journalist is supposed to be guided by, right?
Yeah.
Is to empower the afflicted and afflict the powerful. It is
Yeah.
very difficult, I understand. I think I have a lot of sympathy for people in newsrooms right now, obviously, because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely think that my POV on content creators is very much like we are in one big pool now,
Mhm.
but the frustration is that there's differing understandings of what it means to be a content creator and how much accountability you can take.
Yes.
Because often you see times of like content creators coming up that are like, I'm a voice of truth, I'm a voice of reason, I'm here
Like,
to
who
give you
are
the
you?
news, but then want to skirt accountability when they misreport, when they
Mhm.
skew, when they plagiarize,
Yeah.
which is the standards that journalists have historically been like, held accountable to. And with content creation, it gets really messy because, now people are getting fed this information, not seeking it out,
Nope.
so
It's
yeah.
it's an interesting space to be in, to be a content creator who does, like, I don't call myself a news personality. Like,
Mhm.
there are content creators who have news background, who have decided, "Hey, I'm gonna go out on my own, use the," like you said, exercise those muscles of
Mhm.
writing, of journalism, and tell you all about what's going on in the world. I just think what's really sticky to me about content creators and journalists is that content creators have the skill to garner an audience.
Yes.
And the way that we garner that audience, it can be for a variety of different things. It can be for how you look, it can be for how your background, your
Mhm.
lifestyle, the way you talk. I mean, it can be that somebody sees something in you that they might want one day, or they look up to you. If a journalist messes up, you can literally lose your entire job.
Mhm.
But with a content creator, if you say something that's incorrect, there is no accountability.
Mm.
And that's why I'm always interested to hear where journalists think it can go better. And I think the only way is, like, to actually have the
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Absolutely. I think there are content creators out there who are doing incredible journalism,
Yes.
who are out there reporting, getting firsthand sources,
Mhm.
sharing like exactly where they're getting their information, and creating content that is telling a story with that mission in mind, right?
Yes.
To inform and empower the people. I think that where it goes wrong is simply this like idea of like where do we go from accountability here? Where if you're locking down big brand deals and then you get canceled for something because you've made a mistake. It's like, okay, so what are the consequences now where you have misled the people?
Yeah.
There should be some level of consequence. And so in that, you want people who will then come up and be like, I want to take this very seriously. I have a duty to make sure that I'm not just saying that this is for entertainment purposes only, right?
Yes.
Like this is just for entertainment, this is for vibes. Like at some point you have to decide which
News
side of the
for
fence you're
vibes
gonna be.
is crazy.
Yeah. The for entertainment,
Like,
this is
that's
like my
actually kinda
side
crazy
thing.
when you think
Like
about it.
when people are just like, this is by the way for entertainment purposes, and then they launch into like a long, informative, like video essay type thing. I'm like, you need to pick a side of the line.
Yeah, which
You
one?
need to pick.
Yeah.
Like you need to pick one place, and it's either you assign that you understand that you have a duty to bring and accurate information
Yeah,
to
please.
people, or you are straight up and be like, this is for entertainment and make it very clear that you are opining. This is opinion based.
Mhm.
Make that very clear and then pick one side and stick to it.
Yeah.
I think that's what frustrates me about the industry today. I'm like, and because it's confusing people. They have no idea.
No, people don't know what they're consuming. They
That's
have no clue.
exactly. That's why they're up like believing just pundits on that's why they believe Tucker Carlson, whose every statement is I think and doesn't share a
You're
single
not the
fact the
brightest.
whole
You're not the
time.
brightest. We're starting the new version
Yeah.
of content creators and journalists. But I want to know Steffi's advice. One, for an aspiring writer, and then two, for a content creator that wants to use their platform to spread accurate information.
I think for aspiring writers, I think that the main thing is I know it seems scary right now. I know it seems like, is there a future where you can create art, create writing, create journalism? When it seems like private equity is buying up all these newsrooms and laying people off, and AI is seemingly replacing like, baseline court reporting jobs that historically have been done by people. I know it seems frightening. I think that my belief, and maybe this is just delusion, but I believe that
Nothing wrong with delusion,
right, we all need a little of
especially
delusion
healthy delusion.
right now.
It's good.
Period. I think that like journalism will survive no matter what because I it is my belief that the truth will always come to light, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there are people in power who we know are actively destroying our society, destroying the systems, like actively inflicting violence. That's just I think something we acknowledge at this
Mm-hmm.
point. So I think that for anyone who is interested in making great journalism is it doesn't I would look at this point in our industry and just have faith that if you are a great journalist that you will figure it out somehow. Maybe it'll be independently. Maybe it'll be on a newsletter. Maybe it will be
Yeah.
on your own channel. But I think if you have this calling where you're like, I want to report, I want to serve the people, and follow through with this mission, like I think that you will find a way somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And it will just take a lot of finagling because everything is very much shifting around right now. But that is also when great things happen, you
Yeah.
know? So maybe it's naive or delusional, but that's just what I believe. And I think that it is an interesting time, I think, to be entering this industry because we need reporters, we
Yeah.
need journalists, and especially writers who, want to write. I think that's great. Like you should write.
I don't think that's delusional at all or naive. I
Yeah.
think the reality is if you are good at something
Yeah.
and you have a passion for it, you will find your way. Like you
Yeah.
will fit into that. So I
Yeah.
don't think that's naive at all.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah. I don't think
appreciate
that's naive.
that.
What about
Yeah.
the content creators though?
Yeah.
What's your advice to them?
You gotta decide. Make a
Ah,
call.
what do they have to decide on? What do we have to decide on?
I think if it's the same thing, if you want your channel to be a serviceable channel where people can come back knowing they will get information from you and they can understand directly what they're getting out of you,
Mm-hmm.
um, pick that lane and stay there. I think
Yeah.
anyway, when you see the most successful creators over the very short yet long history of the internet, the most successful ones have always been channels that are serviceable. The more I interview creators and get to know creators
Mhm.
who are doing really great things, they know exactly what they want to create for their audience, and they stick to it. Not to say it won't evolve over
Mhm.
time, but just to have a very clear vision of the responsibility you want to hold among people. And if you don't want the responsibility of people's perception of the world,
Mhm.
that's fine. Like, don't take that on yourself if you don't want that, but make that very clear. Don't write off any one source because you've heard their vibes are bad.
Yes,
Be
girl,
in
go read it.
go read
Read
it.
it. Yeah.
Use your critical thinking skills, like, I'm sure
Yes.
you have
People
talked
need them.
at length about how to read an article, what to
Yes.
look out for. I have a guide on my Substack that's like
Mhm.
here's how exactly how I read the news every day.
Mm.
Um, and there's a ton of journalists who also have those
I
similar
like that.
guides. Just make sure that you're an active and critical media consumer.
Thank you, Steffi. This has been
Of
fantastic.
course. Thank you so much for having
Of
me.
course, I've learned, and as always, I love your writing. I love everything you're doing. So thank you for just
Likewise.
being at the intersection of tech and
Oh
culture.
my god.
So yeah, thank you guys for coming to another episode of Chronicled. I hope you left feeling smarter, sexier, more chronicled, all that stuff. So if you like this, even if you didn't like it, I feel like you should share it, repost it, do something with it so more people can see it. Send it to somebody who might need to turn their brain on, and we will see you guys next week. Toodles.